Just because I want to be courteous of your time here. I know that it's raining and it's a little difficult to find, so hopefully if they're still on their way, we have quite a few people registered for this event, but hey, life happens. So thank you for joining us today. I know with it being gloomy and rainy, we made it all here safely, and thank God for that. Myself, my name is Jessica Javier. I'm a business advisor with the Small Business Development Center, and I also do business development with the Asian Business Association. If you're unfamiliar with our services, basically if you're looking to expand your network, get business advising at no cost, or just leverage our resources available here in our community, then feel free to chat with me, connect with myself, or we also have Vanessa, and Jet. Hi, Jet. We'll help you get started. So Feature Friday, it's more than just me asking questions. We're here to share a real story, create genuine connection, share the highs, the lows, the pivots, the what now. And so my goal with this workshop is basically to show you that business success doesn't always look the same. And what is business success, right? To me, business success doesn't mean the fancy titles, meeting your sales goal, being known in the community. What business success means to me is being resilient during your business journey. Business ownership doesn't always look like this, There's going to be a lot of obstacles and challenges, and being able to overcome those challenges, come on the other side standing strong, still growing the business, that's what business success is. And that's what keeps the business growing, being established for many years. So what I hope for you is to walk away from this workshop feeling motivated, inspired, knowing that there's a business community here to support you and that you can lean on. And then just really believing in yourself that you can also have a successful business, whatever your terms are, So we are here at the MK Lab, which is one of the top batch content creating studios here in San Diego County. And so we're featuring Christian and Stephanie Graham.
Hello.
And
Hello.
Yay! Hello. I'm very excited to feature you both just because I've known you both for a while and you guys are always like a power couple. Not only are you business partners, you're in marriage, and you also have years of experience in business ownership. What's cool is not you're only familiar with this business industry, but multiple industries with the restaurant and food business. So yeah, I'm very excited to hear your story. So I'll pass it on to you guys. Maybe if both of you can share where your entrepreneurship journey started, and then also your roles and responsibilities in the company.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Christian, and I'm the CEO of the MK Lab and also Merakairos Media. The MK Lab is this content creating studio that we're obviously in right now, and Merakairos Media is our digital marketing agency that we formed as like a sister company to this company. My entrepreneurship journey really started when I was very young, probably like 7th grade. It was just little things like selling chocolate bars out of my backpack. So that kids didn't go to the student store and buy it, but they would buy it from me. And funny story is, one day, Miss Diamampo Green, she wasn't even my teacher, but she made me open up my backpack one morning, and I had just restocked my 36 count of Hershey cookies and cream chocolates, some Gatorade, some Arizonas. It was probably like $40, $50 worth of inventory to start off the week. And made me dump it out in the trash can right in front of everybody. And from that point was like really kind of that start of the entrepreneurship journey. And then it transitioned into my first kind of small business that I legally formed, which was Graham's World Famous, which was an e-juice company. So I used to make vape juice, would R&D it, manufacture it, distribute it. Ended up selling that company off in like my junior year of college, and then started Smackin' was really like the next big leap for me, which was our restaurant that we had for almost 6 years. We just exited that about 3 weeks ago. And then to take a more focused approach on what we have going on right here, which is the MK Lab and Merakairos Media. But that's pretty much the extent of my entrepreneurship journey. I know that there's a bunch of story that goes along with that, but long story short, that's where I'm from.
Hi guys, I'm Stephanie Graham. I am the Chief Creative Officer here at Merakairos Media and also co-founder of the MK Lab. I would say my entrepreneurial journey, it didn't start out as that. I'm an artist first, so mine came with creative expression, and I would do like origami folds, and people would want it, so I'd sell it to them for like 5 cents, and that's like in elementary school. And then it became, it was really me exploring my creativity. So I would paint, and I would paint rocks, and soon people wanted that as a paperweight, and so I'd sell that for $20. But it wasn't up until, I guess, after high school is where I really started my photography journey. So by trade, I am a photographer. My father before me is a photographer, and so we shared that passion. And from that, I started to explore, got into working with local businesses and doing product photos and their content creation before content was creation, and then not until me and Christian got together in 2016 and we started Smackin'.
I mean, I was DJing.
I was doing content for him.
Side hustles. Yeah, she was doing content for me.
And then, Smackin' and the lab. So that's where it came from, I guess, or the journey. It wasn't a business at first. To me, it was just expression. It was just creativity. And with a business guy, entrepreneur, that's where we really work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurship journeys start with a passion, or whether you're really good at it, right? Or it could even start with a Costco membership for you, Christian.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with, I know you have I want to say more than a handful of businesses you started on your own, and then projects for you as well. But I want to start on the business that you guys both started together, which is the restaurant. So how did the restaurant come about? What motivated you? Was it an opportunity? Was it passion?
Yeah, so for me, it was really a combination of opportunity and passion. Opportunity in the sense that growing up, one of my brother's best friends, Alberto, had always said money is a metaphor for opportunity. And so I kind of took that and I made it my memo, is what I call it. I'm an acronym person. So my memo is money enhances more opportunities. And so in any way that I can generate more wealth, more revenue, more money is another opportunity for somebody else. And so when I took my investments, I liquidated my Roth IRA, I liquidated my, my investment accounts, my savings accounts, and because I was investing, I was day trading and swing trading since I turned 18. Liquidated those, liquidated my 529 account, and went all in on Smackin'. And it was really for the purpose of being something that was social proof, because I wanted to become a business coach eventually one day. And so I wanted to showcase to other entrepreneurs that they can go and do it, and especially, we are here for the ABA, right? So my Asian, Pacific Islander, and Black, communities that I come from, there's not a lot of representation when it comes to being in business. And so having something that people could physically touch, go to, tastes, right? All of those things. I wanted to start there. And being in one of the hardest industries to be in, to really set that precedence and that credibility behind me being able to coach somebody through the ins and outs of any industry, but really one of the hardest industries to be successful in. And also with my grandma, SMACN is an acronym, once again, acronyms, Pseudo Mesa Authentic Chamorro Kitchen. It was really to pay homage to my grandma that owned a bakery back home on Guam and wanted to have something out here in the States, but wasn't able to make it happen. It was too much risk. And, my mom's siblings, she comes from 10 siblings, like they didn't want to do it. They're all blue collar, 9-to-5 workers and things like that. So I'm really that first entrepreneur that took that big leap out of my family. And I wanted to really set that foundation for the next generation of, minorities, people of color to go and do it and be that vessel of courage for them. And then also for my daughters. We now have 3 daughters, but we opened the restaurant when our first daughter was 6 months old. And yeah.
I think that was well said. You pretty much covered everything. When we started SMACN, I was pregnant. I was 8 months pregnant, and when he presented the idea, it was something that we wanted to do 10 years down the road. But when he presented that idea, I did not want to do it. I worked in the food industry. I've had a lot of mom and pop shops as like business owners, and I saw it. I saw the grind and hustle. I'm like, I didn't want it, but he had a dream. He had something, and it was like he presented to me, either we're gonna do this together, or I'm gonna do it, and you can go your own way. And
not that we would leave each other, but that I would be doing my own thing.
Yeah.
She would be doing her own thing.
Well, yes and no, because at the end of it, it's like you have to find alignment. So we are married now, but at the time we were just boyfriend and girlfriend. And so it was like, he presented not the ultimatum, but the ultimatum is like, what do you see for yourself? This is the route I'm going. Which route are you? And we had to find that alignment, and because I wanted, to marry this man as well. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going in, and I'm going to support this. I'm going to support what you have, even though I don't see it fully. And honestly, the past almost 6 years was beautiful when it came to SMACN. We got to help out the community in ways I didn't think we would be able to, through food and through just the community and just opportunities, So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I mean, like you mentioned, entering the food industry, it has a lot of risk, So you do have to have a lot of passion and courage to enter that business. And I know when I started my entrepreneurship journey, you actually had helped me with, he taught me what stocks were when we were younger. We used to work together, fun fact. We worked at Teguki Korean barbecue restaurant.
Back. We started at Vans together first. We started at Vans together first.
Yeah, and then I followed him. I'm just kidding. I was like, this guy, he knows what he's doing. But then he taught me about stocks, and I was just like, what? Like, I never really invested before. And actually, that helped me with my entrepreneurship journey to invest in a business that I was passionate about. So thank you for that. And so going on to your restaurant business, I know it's a lot of risk. You have to have a lot of courage to start. But now that you have been through that journey and a lot of lessons were learned, anything you've taken from that industry or that business that is helping you with this business, the MK Lab?
Oh man, so many nuances to talk on here, but I'll start with another acronym of mine, which is being RAD, resourceful, adaptable, and disciplined. Really, with SMACN, we launched it in June of 2019. And then, what's to come, just a few months after that, the pandemic lockdown, right? And so we went through just the biggest high. We hit 70K in our first month of opening doors for SMACN. And, we were netting just crazy numbers that I had never imagined that restaurant to actually be taking off when I was doing the financial projections early on in like the business planning. And so we were just on this huge high horse. I was able to buy my wife a nice rock on her finger and everything. And then, then reality set in, right? The pandemic really hit us hard. Sales dropped like 50%. And it was just a huge shock for us. But we had to, right, be resourceful and be able to adapt to the circumstance. And that's actually one thing that my stepfather would always tell me is the greatest ability that we have as humans is the ability to adapt. And so I took my passion in DJing and music and sound engineering for different churches and things like that since 14, 15 years old. And I was like, I'm going to launch a music video. And so sure enough, we launched a music video during 2020, the end of 2020. And that video went viral. It went viral, and it was just that challenge of being innovative in business. Restaurants aren't known for making music videos, maybe a jingle or something if you're a Chick-fil-A or, McDonald's or something like that, but nothing of a full-blown music video. And so we did that, went viral. Restrictions started lifting off. And so we started to see people coming from out of state, come in. Arizona, Utah, Vegas, starting to come in, or Nevada. Vegas is in a state. And so, yeah, these people were just coming in from all over the place. And so we saw that, being against the grain and trying something different, being resourceful, being adaptable, being disciplined to a craft and just trying something, stepping outside of the box, that really helped us grow in that business. And then we get to now take that into this business by really just it's coming from a place this business is coming from a place of just imagination and creativity, and really just being we're faith-based entrepreneurs. So just really being led by God as he leads, whatever kind of visions come to mind, it's it's creativity that converts into impact is really our tagline. And so it just comes from that deep rooted, kind of just creativity, faith, let's go do something. Yeah.
I feel another acronym coming on.
Community mic drops.
I feel like you could just make an acronym from there, from that response. So I guess, what was the different steps that you took to start the restaurant compared to this business? To get started, did you have a roadmap? What did that roadmap look like for each business?
For the restaurant, it was a lot different because we bootstrapped through, personal finance and then family, friends. And then with this one, we were able to get started kind of off on a good foot because Smackin' was already going. And so, using and leveraging one asset to then create another cash flowing asset was kind of the mindset behind it. But it was just another one of those, let's take advantage of the opportunity and the passion. And so with Steph, being a photographer, we were like, oh, let's do a photography studio, because she was renting out other photography studios at the time to bring clients to and to do some passion projects. And we were actually funny, going to Jaunt's one morning around the corner from here. And at the time, they only had their small location, just a small little warehouse, a few doors down. And I fell in love with the overall aesthetic of kind of what they had in there. And I was like, yo, why don't we just inquire for your own space and see what happens, right? So it really started from there, was let's now step into your passion and step into, your world of, creation, creativity.
Yeah.
And so it started off as what was supposed to be just a photography studio, and then it ended up, as you guys can see, it's turned into a music recording studio, podcasting studio, and in the front we have our print shop. So it's kind of this all-in-one creative studio. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about Christian, and he's always been a supporter of my passions. Anytime I had an idea, he's like, he wants to go to the top. He just wants to start it, and when it came to the MK Lab, and before it was just going to be my studio, he's like, yeah, let's just inquire. Let's just do it. And I'm like, I'm not ready for my own studio. I don't even know what to do, but he's definitely one to say, like, just take every opportunity. If he sees the opportunity, he's like, let's go for it. Just try. And that's the encouragement that I always get from Christians. Just try and see what happens, and commit. Commit is a really big thing that I didn't have really before this. Yeah, I'm sorry. What was the question?
Well, I feel like this next question is probably best for you. And so I would like for you to share with, like, what systems in place do you have that really helped you as a business owner and grow in your passion? It could either be like things to keep you organized, like, with your personal daily life, or it could be like in the business as well. Like, is there any tools or systems that you really rely on?
We recently started using Milanote because I'm a photographer and I'm really on the visual side of things. I was introduced to Milanote by Jesse, and it really allowed me to organize my thoughts because I compartmentalize things. And so to be able to see things visually, so I would take my inspirations and make a mood board out of it, list things that I need to get done. So it was just a space where I could organize my thoughts. So that allows me to send to other people of, like, if I want to pitch something, I can send it to them and they can see every aspect of what I have for them. We also leverage AI. The things that I would normally just delegate to somebody, say, like, can you handle this? If I don't have somebody, I would chat it just to kind of spark some ideas or get something going. And that would somewhat inspire me to really use my brain and creativity to find solutions. So that I use Adobe Creative Cloud for graphic design, and but honestly, if you have Canva, you could do a lot with Canva, and that doesn't make you less of a graphic designer. It doesn't make you less of a person to use it. I think it's an excellent tool that everybody could use for presentations, for their logo, or just getting something, for their Instagrams or posting. I think Canva is honestly a really great tool, and it's constantly being updated. So it makes it easier for a lot of people to just start.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Did you want to add on?
Yeah, I'll add on to it. Yeah, I mean, if you're not leveraging AI in 2025, then you're really just falling behind, because it just streamlines so many things that would be either inefficient as a CEO to take care of, or, a team member to have to delegate, certain minor tasks to. I really look to Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants, if you guys are familiar with that, but it's measuring your urgency versus what's important. Mm-hmm. And for a CEO, you really want to be spending time in quadrant number 2, which is spending time on your planning. So doing the not urgent tasks, but are very important, and spending deep time planning and going through and developing a system, or leveraging different tools so that you can start streamlining and automating processes. And that's the way that you're able to then take your business from going from just successful to sustainable growth, or into like an evergreen system. And that's how we've been able to, we're serial entrepreneurs. We're not just in one focused area. So you have to create systems that are able to be cross-pollinated across the different industries that you work out of. And I think that's really what separates, like, people like us versus just like one person in one industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think this next question I actually want to ask Stephanie, because earlier you were saying, when Christian wanted to start this business and he asked you, like, I'm gonna start this anyway, like, whether you're in or not, you know, and you had to make that decision. And then now the tables kind of turn, or not really turn, but now he's supporting you and your passion and he's bringing that to life, right? Mm-hmm. But as a couple and business owners, and business partners, you know, and as like very strong advocates for the small business community, I wanted to ask you guys, how do you guys balance it, you know, and like, how do you guys make it work?
You just do. Honestly, I
need those tips.
We can't say that there's a one way to do things because, you know, everybody's different. With us, I would say that we at least have some sort of structure that we follow. Not necessarily business, but this is just home life because we have 3 children. So we drop them off in the morning, we get ready, we come straight to the lab, we work, and then at 5 we leave and we go pick up our one daughter from daycare. And thankfully we have our other 2 that are in school and they get picked up by his parents, and then it's family time from that point on. So we follow that family life structure, and then everything in between. From the time our second is dropped off, so I guess around 8:30 and all the way up to 5, we have whatever the day calls for. So we might have a booking, we might have a couple of videos to edit. It's just really what the day calls for. Mm-hmm. And right now that's what's working. Mm-hmm. I guess as we merge into Merakairos Media and really focus on content creation, it may change. And that's something where we have to sit down and see if anything else changes. But at the moment, that's our balance. Mm-hmm. And if there's an event or something that we have, then we pivot to that. But other than that, it's just having a general outline of your day and then following it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So having a routine, understanding that you both play a big part throughout the whole day, and that you both have to participate in the business and real life, right? Christian, did you want to add there? Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, yeah. No,
You looked eager. You're like, oh, yeah, this is me. I got it.
No, for me, yeah, it's just like, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions as being an entrepreneur is that like there's something of a work-life balance. Like it's just you do life, you know, like the work is just a part of it. You know, you just kind of have to do the work. Mm-hmm. And so being disciplined to the things that you are called into and putting in that work. Mm-hmm. So sometimes like with the restaurant, you know, we would have to be in there at 3 a.m., you know, revamping the menu and then, you know, mopping up water from a roof leak, you know what I mean? Like you just have to do those things. Mm-hmm. You know, even early on here, like we have client deliverables to see fit, right? And so one of our biggest brands that we worked with was Spy Optics, right? And of course, they're a multi-million-dollar company and we want to have their business long term. And so we're guaranteeing, you know, quick deliverables on the content that we're doing for them. And so it's like, all right, yeah, we got a long night ahead of us. Bring the girls over here. We're literally here till 3 a.m. doing some video editing to be able to deliver back to the client, you know, quickly. And, you know, I think it's not like that all the time, but when you're first starting out in business, because we are a fairly new business model when it comes to like how we operate now, which maybe we can jump into a little bit later, is like we had to pivot. You know, we went from servicing creatives to now servicing coaches, consultants, and brands. And so it really had us have to shift out of what the overall mindset was looking like when we first launched versus where we are now. Mm-hmm. And you kind of just, like I said, you have to just do life. You know, It's just part of it.
Yeah. The takeaway I like is, you know, family comes first and get them involved and understanding that, you know, we're in this together. So like, let's support one another, you know. It's not more your duty and it's not more of my duty. It's a teamwork, right? So I like that. Thank you. Speaking of pivot, I would love to learn more about that because, you know, you've pivoted many times, right? And you've learned so much every time. So tell us more about this, like recent venture, the pivot, and the success and challenges that you've had.
Yeah, so I mean, for us, it was like we started off this content creating studio. Really, the very origin of it was to be her photography studio. So this wall, all the way to the back wall over there, was supposed to be like, completely open, and she was gonna put in her psych wall and just be doing a whole bunch of studio photography. And I had to beg and plead with her to, build out this music studio, this beautiful music studio. And because I was, at the time, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into my music production that I was doing, and helping service like our San Diego creatives, because I saw that they felt a need that they needed to leave San Diego to go to the bigger markets like LA, New York, Tennessee, etc., to get their grind on. But, like I said earlier, money enhances more opportunities. So I wanted to create that opportunity for them to not have to leave San Diego and for us to support our local talent. And so she agreed. We got
all the way to right here. No.
So
meeting in the middle.
Yeah. So yeah, she was willing to compromise and let me in on her space, and so that's what we did. We launched that, and then I was like, hey, beggars can be choosers. Can I also get a podcast studio out of here? and so I wanted to always have a podcast studio, even before starting Smackin'. So as soon as a little backstory, before I was a project manager and data analyst for a Fortune 500 company here in San Diego. And I was there for about 4 months. This was right after we found out. That was the only pivot I really took into corporate life. I was there for 4 months because I wanted to provide that security for our soon-to-be daughter. And so I was there for about 4 months, and she was like, hey, you can't be here anymore. Like, this isn't you. And I remember going to work the last 2 weeks. I didn't put in the 2 weeks, but the last 2 weeks, just crying on the way to work. And, VP, SVP, HR, the whole nine got involved. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. And, I handed in my badge, handed in my laptop, went downstairs, drove straight to Barnes & Noble's. And I bought How to Build a Personal Brand and How to Start a Podcast for Dummies. And so I bought the equipment. Some of the equipment is still used in that podcast studio today, the microphone specifically. I wanted to launch that before even starting Smackin', because I had the business background. But, after talking with my brother, he was like, hey, you know what you're doing. Your friends know what you're doing. Family knows what you're doing, but other people don't. And so that's when we actually took that big leap into starting Smackin', so that we had that tangible space, that social proof for people. And so, yeah, it's kind of always been this dance, this pivot, right? Yeah. Of like, okay, yes, we agreed, like we can start here, but adapting to the circumstance and like what needs need to be met from every angle. And I thank my wife for being so compromising and, agreeing, not necessarily, and supporting, not necessarily that she has to agree with everything, but supporting everything that, we're being called into and being led through. And so, yeah, that's really kind of all the pivots that we've had to make. And, it was start off with this creative studio servicing these San Diego creatives, music studio, come here, get their content done with their headshots, their cover arts for their albums. And then over there, they could utilize it as, say, like a radio, type interview spot. And now the business model is coaches, consultants, experts, brands, like I said. So really just a lot of utilization in the podcast studio. We are the #1 podcast studio listed on Peerspace. And so that drives us a lot of lead generation for sure. But it's being able to service those clients now versus the creatives that we initially wanted to. And it actually funnels downstream from those coaches, those ones that are willing to pay the price, the premium price, to be able to utilize the premium equipment that we have. And we get to now funnel that downstream in our sales to help service and create an opportunity for the local creatives to do it at free or little cost. And so we're more on that social entrepreneur aspect of the spectrum.
Oh, that was great.
That was good. I'm just like, you did like emphasize, adaptability and pivoting, which is like very crucial in any business, because without it, how are you going to grow? Because circumstances always change, right? So we have to make sure we move along with it. And just to be, mindful of our time here, I want to ask one more question before we let everyone ask questions, not just myself now. But I want to ask if there is any actionable tips that you have, and I'm going to break this down in 2 sections. And so actionable tips to someone who is getting started or trying to figure out like their business or business model. And then action tips to someone who is, in business and they're realizing, what, I have to pivot because something's not working out.
You want to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. So actionable tips for someone just getting started off in business, utilizing your resources. Like I said, that RAD acronym that I said earlier, that are being resourceful. So leveraging something like the ABA, SBDC, the SBA or SCORE even, right? SCORE mentorship. I leveraged all of those before starting the restaurant. And I actually got to take a seminar with the CEO of Taco Bell and Baskin Robbins to learn how to start a restaurant. Because of that, and it was like $20, you know what I mean? So leveraging the resources that you kind of have just within your local market. Of course, we're here on the media side of things nowadays, so it's like you have YouTube, you have Reddit, you have Twitter, you have all of these other tools, taking courses from, say, a coach. One of the biggest things that I say is you have to learn before you earn. So taking off the L, so then you can start getting the W's in earning. That looks a lot different nowadays. You don't have to necessarily go to a 4-year university. You can take courses online from people that have experience and teach you firsthand exactly what you need to learn and eliminate the pain point of all the time that goes into learning the business operations in the specific industry that you want to get into. The second thing that I would say for business owners that are already in business, here's 5 actionable tips that I would give to those business owners that are already in business to help them grow and to scale, is to weigh out your motifs, to fix the motifs of your system, which is another acronym of mine. It's fixing your messaging and your marketing, your offers, your targeting when it comes to who you're speaking to, how you're speaking to them, your influencing with intention. So you may have a lot of influence already through different marketing channels, either through social media or in traditional marketing tactics, but how are you leveraging that influence to be intentional with that influence that you have within, say, a built community that you already have, and then fixing your overall sales funnels. So like I said earlier, there's 5 stages to business. Stage 1 is existing. Stage 2 is exposure or growth. Stage 3 is success. Stage 4 is sustainable growth. And then stage 5 is evergreen. So most people will be sitting and hovering within kind of stages 2 and 3 within business. And that could be making still 7 figures a year, 8 figures a year. But if you don't have the systems in place to maintain sustainable growth, so creating an overall business flywheel that supports business continuity, then you're going to bottleneck at some point in some system, missing the kind of overall target or total addressable market that may be available to you. And so having automations and systems to then get you to that point, or team delegation even, and trust amongst team to get you to stages 4 and 5 is how you eventually, fix that motif within your business.
I would say for me is build a team. You when you have your business, it's great when you have control over everything and you can make those deciding factors, those decisions. But honestly, it's hard to do it alone. Eventually you want to build a team, and if you can't afford a team, I'm pretty sure you might be able to find somebody in your network who is willing to barter something. So you guys can help each other out. So there is that community building aspect. And maybe they have the same alignment in your overall vision that they're like, hey, I'm gonna help you, but in return this. So I think just that team definitely adds a lot because they know things that you don't know, and they know how to do things you don't know how to do. And that's how you guys just build each other up. Iron sharpens iron, right? And I firmly believe in that. We had to let go of our reins within Smackin' and really let our team help build Smackin' while we were out building the MK Lab. And that really helped us in our mental health, our emotional health, and our physical health because we were in there doing so many different things that we were just beat, wearing every single hat. So definitely just build a team and use your own skills, gifts to barter with somebody and build together.
Yeah, I really love that, you mentioned you have to be intentional. I mean, it's very easy for us to get stuck in routine, like Monday looks like Tuesday looks like Wednesday, and then I have this amount of bookings, but then making sure you have intention and you're always moving forward in your business, right? Another thing I loved is that, be open to building a team, to networking, and bring that exposure to your brand and be confident in your brand because and also lean on the resources around you. I mean, we have a great business community here at no cost, and so utilize it to expand your network, to gain those relationships and friendships that support what you're doing. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're very welcome. So does anyone have questions for Stephanie or Christian?
Keeping on the topic of pivoting, going back to
Yeah.
knowing what you know now as an entrepreneur, what point, walk me through your thought process. When is it time for me to leave this and pursue my next one? Walk me through that thought process because I'm really curious to move a few times. What goes through your mind? What's time to leave
Yeah, good question. So like I said earlier, like we are faith-based entrepreneurs, and so it's really just being led to the next thing. It's not necessarily like by our own doing. Like I didn't even want to start off the restaurant. Wasn't even the first thing that I wanted to do myself. If I'm being, completely honest, like I already knew that the restaurant business was going to be hard. I already knew that the margins are small. I already knew I would have to blow through my entire, investment account to make it happen. I wanted to start a barbershop to start things off, kind of as my first big thing. But being led by faith and not by sight to pursue that next thing is really what got me to where I'm at. And making those proper pivots is just being led by spirit. Yeah, like you just have to go where you're called to go and to utilize your gifts to serve in an assignment for someone else. Not for your own doing, not for your own benefit, not for the income, the revenue, but because you want to just purely serve other people, and then like those other things will come. Like all those other things will be provided to you. So
Andres, you had a question?
Yeah, first of all, talked on. Question is more on every time that you pivoted, have changed the type of client that you're like, and I think that small businesses struggle getting product there
Yeah.
to clients. So how do you learn that quickly?
Good question. I really think that that's really just like my gift, my superpower is really just strategy. So it's really just an innate thing for me, but also just kind of having systems because our team is able to see it pretty well. But I think just as a CEO, you are the visionary leader. And so you just have to go where the vision lies, and then you're able to lead your team to that next thing, and just guide them through that process as best as you're able to. It takes time though. Like if you're working with other people on a team, or you're trying to even help guide a company to see the next pivot. Like we're working with a client right now to try to pivot them from their brand that they're trying to get started and build into building a personal brand, because it just makes more sense to build around the person versus the product of their brand. And so it just takes a lot of time, a lot of development, and being patient with people. And then you just have to go through what I utilize, which is SMART goals. So being very specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time based with goal setting, is kind of another tool that I leverage, with clients. And I don't necessarily write everything down in a tree like I used to. It's kind of just something that I do in my head now. But yeah, I would definitely recommend utilizing what like SMART goals process. Use a journal, write it out, or use your computer and use Milanote, leverage Milanote, and kind of draw out a web of what it looks like to define your clear message and what you're going to offer. And just remember that an offer is a present that someone is able to accept or reject as they so desire, right? As they so desire, not as you so desire. So you could have the best product, the best offer available, but if no one wants it, no one desires it, right? Then you're going to get rejected, right? And so you have to develop these irresistible offers, something that people just need, they want, and the way that you're able to serve them best through it. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Because I know when I walk into some businesses, I probably don't even need it, and then the offer is great where I end up buying it. So I never really realized that until you just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Well, any other questions? Yeah.
What's up, Charles?
What's a mistake you made? Any one of you won't make again.
Dun dun dun.
Learning from Smacken, not investing more time and resources into just marketing. That's why we're in marketing now, is that we didn't take it as serious back then, but we knew that there was a correlation between our sales and what we posted. And so now with our studio, and the clients that have come in just through the studio and asking for services, it has developed us into creating Merakairos Media, and we just see how much value is there, as well. It just affirms that that content creating is really important. So not doing it is like the mistake, I would say, especially in today's world, like today.
Yeah, I would say also the number one mistake I think we made is over leveraging in our business. So a lot of people will say to go all in, and I wholeheartedly agree to go all in, but as it pertains to your overall kind of physical, mental, emotional willingness to go into business, but financially, don't go all in. You set aside contingencies, and make sure that you're being smart about how you utilize those resources, because Yeah, I mean, we even tried to do that within Smackin' ourselves. We had a huge chunk of change for contingency funds, but those contingencies came up, and we ended up having $300 left in our bank account by the time the doors open. And praise God that within the first 2 days, we made like 3 months worth of uh, sales expenses that we needed to, but with a 6-month-old daughter. So yeah. And so we opened up doors 2 days before the first, right? June 28th, 2019. Rent's due on the first, right? And so contingencies were definitely running dry after investing, multiple six figures into this business. But that's one mistake that I would say would save a lot of people. Like, to beat that statistic of like 95% of businesses close down within their first year, right? Have contingencies in place, right? So that you don't over leverage in your business. Yeah.
Oh, and delegation. I know this goes into what I said before, but delegation was really important because in those 5 years or almost 6 years of Smackin', we were so in the business and we had strategy, right? But we couldn't implement it or execute anything because we were so beat and we were so behind. And so you would think like, oh, Steph, like you're a photographer. Like, why couldn't you post? But it's like, I was just too tired, because you're working day in and day out in the business. You couldn't really work on the business and schedule those posts. So that delegation aspect was really, I would say, is like also crucial. It's the key to success.
4 years, yeah. That was the key after 4 years for us to get out of business. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you again for allowing us to come to your studio and for allowing us to feature you today. And to everyone who attended, thank you as well. I know that with the rain and the parking and even maybe the time of the day, it didn't really work out best, but you made it, and I thank you for your attendance. I do want to share that our next in-person event will be our coffee networking event, and that will be held at Kufia, which is at the iconic pyramid building off Miramar. And so that will be on May 2nd at 9 a.m. We will love to have you there. After that, we do have another Feature Friday. And then Charlene is actually going to be the business we are featuring. And I am so excited to share your story. And so please join us for both of those. And you are welcome to network now and just hang out. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, my back. Yeah, so tour if you want. See it, look around.
Yeah, you guys are welcome to go inside and check out the music studio. And then we also have the podcasting studio. The mics are live and stuff, so you guys can throw on the headphones, take a listen of how you sound, how you look on the cameras.
Oh, that is so cool.
You gotta get past that.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See you in a couple hours.
See you.